Hello, welcome to another SonicLAB. Today I'm looking at the Behringer X-AIR X18. Now, we know Behringer have brought out a range of digital mixers. These are the X32s, and they come in sort of large formats, smaller formats, rack mount formats, and really rack mount formats. And this is sort of the trend that seems to be happening at the moment as digital mixers become more advanced, and it's basically the DSP and the I/O that you want. The control surfaces, the knobs and the faders, if you like, are being sort of jettisoned in terms of saving costs, because now we can control them via a number of things. And that's what I've been doing here. All the connections are across the top, as well as the network connectivity, MIDI and USB, because this model has got an 18 I/O audio interface built in, which really does kind of give you a lot of extra possibilities. We've got 16 combi jacks here. These are X32 Midas preamps, the very same, so we know that they sound pretty respectable. We've got the first two have got high Z capability, you can plug your guitar straight in. Then we've got auxiliary outputs 1 to 6 on XLR, main outputs and stereo line input 1718, you can have mono or stereo, and a headphone out. All the connections are across the top. Oh yeah, this is the Wi-Fi aerial as well, because coming back over here, this has got a built-in Wi-Fi router in it, which means that we can control this via our phone, iPad or a computer that's linked to the same network. It can either join the network or create its own network. I like to say we've also got an Ethernet port here, which is what I'm using to control this. This is joining our studio network, and then the computer that I've got over here is just joining the same network and controlling the X-AIR. Now, the thing about this is like I say, all of the connections are on the top, apart from the IEC socket here, which has a power switch as well. Now, I'm controlling this from a number of different places. I've got the software running on the Mac here, which is OS X. This running under Yosemite, but it also runs on PC. We've also got clients for Android devices, so your phones and tablets, and iOS as well. So a number of ways to control it. Here, this gives you an entire representation of the mixer, and I'm also adding a bit of MIDI control into it, because it does have basic MIDI control. Don't get too excited. This is controlling levels of things like subgroups, faders and mutes, and we can also do pan control, but we can't get really tight in and start niggling with the EQs and the effect settings, at least not yet. What you heard right at the beginning there was just me jamming with a little patch here and using the internal effects, because there's some really quite tasty effects, as with the X32, as well as the ability to put graphic EQs across things, so if you wanted to use it in a live situation, monitors and what have you. The thing about the XR 18 is, with the 18 I/O audio interface, it adds a whole lot of other possibilities into it as well. And so I can return channels, I can record channels, so I could use it for a variety of things. The previous models, or the models lower down the range, have less of a channel count, and they've also just got a USB slot that allows you to plug in a thumb drive or USB drive and record a stereo file that could be from the master or buses or whatever. There's a lot of routing potential. Now, if we go to the control software here, this is the same as it is on the PC as well. This is running on a Mac OS X. If I come to the channel, what it allows me to do is essentially have the same processing as I would have on an X32. I can select the input, I can have it as the A to D or a USB return here, but I can cross-patch both of those inputs to be anywhere I like. So I could take the input for channel 9 in this case from any one of the 16 XLR inputs, or I could take the USB return from any one of the 18 USB returns. And what you've got here, as well as the mic gain, which goes from -12 to +60, we've also got USB trim. I've trimmed this up here because I did actually record some of this audio, but it allows me to flip between the A to D and USB and match the levels, and that's pretty cool, because I suppose I could use it as a virtual sound check, or there might be other reasons why I might want to match the computer return from the line input, all of those sort of things. So that's another handy feature. We've also got the ability to insert an effect across the channel of one of the 4 effects, so we might want to put a compressor or processor. If we look here, there are a number of different effects types, all sort of compressors, exciters, image Edison, etc., that sort of thing. Moving along, we've got the same, we've got the gate, 4-band EQ with low cut. We've also got compressor, which can work as an expander as well as the gate. The gate can also be a ducker, which is quite useful. And then we've got the sends, which allow us to configure the sends in a number of ways. We can have them in traditional subgroup routing, or we can have them so that they are actually from the fader, so we've got a certain amount of send to each one. Very, very flexible here. 6 buses, and then 4 effects sends. Now, this little button here, global, allows us to set them globally or have them on each individual channel as we see fit. As well as the 6 subgroups, we've also got DCAs. Now, DCAs are very useful. If we go to the software here, we can see that we've got 4 DCA groups, and DCAs essentially allow you to group faders together like a subgroup, but the DCA is a sort of master fader for all of them. So if you've got effects being sent from those faders, when you pull the DCA group down, the effect sends get pulled down as well. Whereas with a subgroup, if you've got channels sending to an effect and you pull the subgroup down, unless you've routed the effects to the subgroup as well, you won't lose the effects. Right, so I've magically appeared the ribbon mic, which I've got going into input 4 on the X-AIR itself. Now if I go to my desk here, I've got it coming in on channel 12 because I've patched it across as I can. Got it set to AD, and I've got a bit of low cut. Now I'm just going to pop my headphones on. So I'm just going to put it in solo and start to bring the mic gain up. 1 2 2 2 2 2. You can hear there's a little bit of stepping there. It's probably not a parameter you'd want to automate. 1 2 2 2 2 2 2. That sounds. And what I've got is in Reaper, I'm recording from input 4 because it's the channel input. It's the physical input that you record from, not the channel output. I'm coming back here, and now what I'm going to solo the return as well, because if I go to the return, I've got the return coming back, and you can hear there is a bit of a sort of flangey, you know, it's not a massive delay, it's actually quite a short delay, and what's happening there is it's got the round trip through the computer and back, and I've got it set to 128 samples, which isn't massively low, but it's quite low, and it seems to be working fine. Obviously this is 44.1, it does 44.1 and 48 sample rates only. So regular contributor Gaz Williams said you must try the Tambourine Test on mic preamps and A to Ds. So I've got a Tambourine courtesy of Amazon Prime, just literally arrived. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record via Reaper, you can see the meters there, into Reaper, and then just play it back. So we're just going to record. Okay, and let's see what that sounds like played back. Okay, to my ears, that sounds pretty damn close, and it is a difficult test because obviously you've got a lot of high frequencies and then you've got very sharp transients. I know if you can hear some noise in here as well, I should just point out that the fan in my computer is going crazy because it's so hot in here, and it's not anything to do with the mic amp noise or anything like that, just so you know. So now I should take a look at the editors available on iOS and what have you. And to do that, what I've got is my trusty Reaper drum session, which is just what I use to do a number of digital desks. So that's what it looks like on this guy. Then if we go to the iOS version, this is running on an iPad, which is only iOS 7 and above, I might add. I can do all of the things that I would expect to be able to do. So I've got my gate, dynamics, EQ, I can switch to advanced or the other mode, and I've got access to touchscreen editing of all of that. I've also got the same application on Android device, oops, which I've just soloed, and if you see here, it's all updated over the network in real time, which is, you know, obviously nice and useful. The only thing that I did find, and this is something that might be an issue for now, is you couldn't, in the mixer itself from maybe the desktop application, sort of have a master connection and say, well, you know, the bass player only gets access to his wedge and, you know, the drummer only gets access to this, that and the other. There doesn't seem to be a way to lock it down in the way that you can with some other digital desks, and that could be a bit problematic. I mean, you can obviously password protect the network, but in the heat of a gig, if someone pressed the wrong button, it could have ramifications for the mix. So I guess that's a software thing, so it could possibly be updated elsewhere. So let's just get this mix going again. Now I'm going to switch in the synth part that I've got. Now that's quite interesting. What's actually happening there is I've got a number of things going on. So I've got this rhythmic part on the sub 37, which is, go to the gate. You can see what I'm doing is I'm actually triggering from channel 2, which is the snare drum, so creating this little envelope to trigger it, which I'm sending into some delays. Then on the low oscillator, I'm triggering that from the kick drum with a slightly different envelope, and then this kind of high other oscillator, which is coming off channel 1. So together, it's going like this, and I can now perhaps anyway, what that's basically showing me is, I've got quite a complex mix going on here with live inputs being processed by the internal DSP on here, together with USB tracks coming off the drums, which I'm also processing into a mix. I'm controlling it a little bit here. One thing you might notice is I did find, certainly on OS X, this editor got a bit sluggish. It seems to sort of slow down, doesn't update quickly. It doesn't seem to change the speed with which you can update the settings in here, but certainly over MIDI, but I just found it kind of got a bit bogged down. So on further investigation of this, I look at the CPU monitor. Reaper's obviously using a lot, but I'm running a bunch of tracks and some plugins as well. XR Edit is up to 35%. So if I now play the track, and maybe what I want to do is tinker with a bit of EQ. We'll take it back to there. XR Edit is up to 94%. That does seem incredibly high to me, and this could present a problem if you want to run the session that you're playing through, maybe USB plus control on a computer. I mean, this isn't a current model, it's a 2011 i7, 2.4 gigahertz with 16 gigs of RAM, so I would have thought it should be able to handle this. But, for instance, if you wanted to do tinker and tweaky real-time EQ via the GUI on this, with that level of CPU, it starts to get quite sluggish, so I'm not quite sure why that is. It doesn't use an awful lot of memory, but certainly seems to hog the CPU rather alarmingly. A little more on presets. You can save individual channels. What you have to do is you go to the channels tab at the top here, select the channel that you want, then you go to the save button and save channel preset, and that allows you to save a channel preset to the location of your choice on the drive. Also, you can copy and paste, so if I wanted to copy this channel, I can now paste it to another channel. I hit the paste button, it allows me to paste the configuration, the input, the gate, EQ, or everything. So obviously with all of these different settings, you might want to be able to recall snapshots really, really quickly. Now, if I'm doing it here, I have to press load and are you sure? But I can actually program changes which will recall them instantly, so I can recall snapshots. Let's get the mix going. So this is my gated one. Then I'm going to go to my drones. Come straight back, another program change. If we look at there, you can see that it's happening very quickly, but the interface isn't updating very fast. Right, so recall is very quickly. I didn't notice any kind of real dropouts or anything, so that's something you could have really, really fast changes in the setup of the mixer being fired off from program changes from your sequencer, all that kind of thing. So creatively, that's going to be a lot of fun. Phew, so for a little box, there's an awful lot going on here. I've tried to cover everything that I can. I mean, I can't do everything. One of the things I couldn't do is test out the UltraNet connection. This allows you to connect up the P16 monitoring system, which are the little kind of solo monitoring devices that you could maybe attach and have a separate mix for each of the members of the band. They can control their own thing. But I don't have one of those, so I can't say how it works. So for £699 UK pounds, other currencies will display below, you're getting a lot of mixer features in a very small box. I think the problem really only lies in the lack of sort of hardcore MIDI or hardware controller integration. It's fantastic that we've got all of these features and that we can access them over software, but for me, hardware control of these kind of features is essential. And while we've got the basic stuff over MIDI, it would be nice to see deeper integration so that we could create custom workflows, custom work surfaces for people to have hands-on experience. If you you just need something tucked away and you flip presets, you never need to change it, then that's going to be fine. But for me, I feel like I just need a little bit more hardware control. And as far as I'm concerned, I've been talking to the Behringer development team, just asking questions, and all of these things are coming. They're saying, yes, we've got plans for that. So definitely a platform that is going to be evolving. So once again, Behringer proved that you can put a lot of features into a very affordable package. But if you don't want to spend that $699, you've also got other options. We've got the XR XR16, which gives you 16 channels, and the XR XR12, which gives you 12 channels. Of course, with both of those, you don't get the audio I/O over USB, which the XR18 does, which I think gives it the edge. But whichever way you look at it, there's a lot of features in a very small box. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Please do check us out on Twitter and Facebook. And don't forget, if you're not already subscribed, subscribe now.